The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is November 19th, 2025. We are live to tape on episode 893. And today, Wingman Epstein signing on from off the grid. Razzle dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit Films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's a beautiful Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday, my dude.
And it is also, according to the Canary Cry calendar, today is November 19th. It is UN World Toilet Day.
Toilets!
Wow.
Toilets!
What a special day.
Special day. And would you like to know more about World Toilet Day?
Yeah. You have it pulled up. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Is Bill Gates involved? Sounds like Bill Gates is involved.
Well, yeah. 2013, the United Nations rose awareness of this global sanitation crisis that is, has to do with toilets. The purpose was to highlight the 3.5 plus billion people who still live without safely managed sanitation. No toilets. No toilets for 3.5 billion people. That's kind of a lot, it feels like. That's
an important issue. It deserves the attention of billionaires and multinational globalist, world domination organizations.
Not without surveillance mechanisms built in. The sewer surveillance thing has been one of our feathers.
Another one that we were too early,
yeah.
Which makes us too late, I guess. I don't know. Sewer surveillance is a big deal now. And at the same time, we had Bill Gates, I think, on previous UN World Toilet Day. It was when he revealed his filtered sewage water that he drank in front of all of us. That was very cool. Right. Also, his emolition toilet. Remember that? Where it was a toilet that was full surveillance. And I mean full surveillance. And it was meant for rural, natives or something, where the excrement drops into a chamber and then lights on fire. Just because you wouldn't want all those nutrients and fertilizer to go into the ground to help grow plants and participate in God's perfect plan for what should happen. Things like that.
The flywheel. They're disrupting the natural flywheel that God created of waste and new growth.
So then there's some metaphor in there for politics as well. Salt Paul says Bill's fascination with bathroom. Yes, he does have some sort of
Toilets!
That clip that ISO we have,
Toilets!
That's Steve Ballmer, owner of the Los Angeles Clippers, also co-founder of Microsoft. He's part of the team that founded Microsoft. So what is it about these Microsoft boys, their obsession with the human waste?
Some sort of milieu, perhaps even some sort of conspiracy. Who's to say?
Yeah, who knows?
Glad you're here, everybody. We're here. It is Wednesday. We're having a blast. Did you play the Wednesday jingle?
I did. Yeah, I played a Wednesday jingle. Do you want another one?
No. I was just... Didn't know if it had been done already.
For those who are flushed down the toilet.
For those who are watching the video, very fun. We have zoomed in our cameras to an excruciating amount. We're just seeing if this is a little bit more engaging, a little bit more personal. You get to be a little bit closer to these eyeballs that flop around when I go like this.
People don't trust us because of your eyeballs, by the way. I see the comments every once in a while pop back up. It's like, you just lose credibility because there's eyeballs, which I think is a very low credibility comment in the comments.
That's right.
So if you're making that comment, that is a low cred.
And it's been that way since the beginning. It's been that way since the beginning, even when we used to speak at conferences and things. And I didn't have the googly eyes back then, but I would, have a bit of a get up. I had some funny clothes I'd wear. I'd have a beard on. It'd be a fun time. really, really offensive to some of the early, let's say, Christian truthers who were just sort of, just begging for some traditional credibility. Whatever, it's fine.
Traditional
I'm like,
credibility.
guys,
We're in the metaverse, guys. We need metaverse credibility, and what more than googly eyes strapped to VR headset?
Nothing worse than people who take themselves too seriously here, but that's okay. They're all God's wonderful children. Okay, let's jump into the show here. It was unfortunately we got a little bit of a late start today. There's a bit going on. We have, of course, let's see. I don't think there's any announcements. I will say this: a big old shout out to our executive producer, of course, Sir LX Protocol, V2 Night of the Breen Protocol. Thank you very much, Sir LX Protocol. Of course, he's coming in for his $100.33.
Yes, sir. I was not prepared for you to
He's
go
on
through
a
all this right now.
440 episode streak and a 94 executive producer streak. Beautiful.
There he goes. Look at him.
That's right. We also have an executive producership from Trevor G, who comes in for a nice round number, very generous. For those who don't know, when you produce the show, because we're value for value, no advertisement, sponsorships, no money coming in from anybody except for the producers of the show. That's you folks. Go to canarycry.support to learn more. These executive producers come in for $100 or more for any individual episode, which makes them very important people. When you come in, you support the show for a nice flat round number. That's you telling us, like, hey, no need to disclose the amount on the air, and so we respect that. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, you put some funky numbers in there, 33 cents. So just sort of have some fun with it. That tells us that you don't mind us disclaiming it. Trevor G comes in for a nice round number and says, I appreciate all you guys do for the Lord. With this amount, the other one-time gifts, and being on the T-shirt council, this should get me to knighthood. I would like to be known as Sir Trevor G, Knight of the Twisted Pines. Okay, wonderful. Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we will be giving you your official knighthood ceremony later this episode. But Trevor G, if something happens and it doesn't happen today, we will get you on Monday. We want to make sure to give you the honor and nobility that you deserve for becoming a knight of the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames. And if you're new and you don't know, this is an illustrious group of producers who have supported the show in the amount of $1,000 or more. This could be all at once. It could be over many years through the recurring monthly donations. There's a lot of ways to do it. But Trevor G, my man, made it to his knighthood and can't wait to knight you on the show. Trevor G, thank you very much for supporting the show.
Thank you, Trevor G. This is awesome. Great news. Love this. I love the vibes today.
It's about time. It had been a little while since we had a knight or a dame. Not too long. We didn't go the longest, but it's been a little while. It's nice to get to make sure to keep that part of the culture going. And that's you, Trevor G. God bless you, buddy.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's jump right into the big stories of the day, and that is the Epstein files.
The Epstein files.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
There you go. Never forget. So, big news. Of course, this month has been very Epstein-y. We have not been following it step by step.
And I'll say Epstein-y. I'd say the last few years have been pretty Epstein-y.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Never gone away.
This month specifically has been very Epstein-y. And, I have followed it step by step with all the twists and turns and all the drama and all the this and all the that. And we made sort of a bit of a commitment, and we don't know if this is a good commitment or a bad commitment, but what the Epstein thing has turned in now, because remember, our listeners, we did our first episode on Jeffrey Epstein in 2016. Okay. So this is, I get it. It has made it to the most important way to distract everybody from anything going on in the world, mostly in the back and forth of the theater, the political theater of the files and the this and who's in it, who's not, blah, blah. So we don't follow it step by step because I actually think it's detrimental. However, just for those who are catching up, earlier this month, the Democrats released a tranche of about 10,000 emails. These were specifically emails to and from Epstein. And the Democrats specifically redacted it themselves. This was not an official, like, government DOJ investigatory redaction. And so they'd take an email, and redact a name. And what we pointed out earlier, and I was thankful to see that other people noticed it, was they would redact a name, but then they would type in white letters on top of the block that they used to redact. Something
this is
like,
something that hasn't been seen too much with the redacted material that gets published.
Oh, you don't do it. Like, that's not how the DOJ does it. It's not how investigators do it. This was obviously like an amateur job put out by
ChatGPT. ChatGPT did it, and then they said, "Is this okay? Is this legal?" And it went, "Yeah, everyone does it." And then
I don't think ChatGPT did it because it was very stupid. And ChatGPT, it will save us all. And we love you, ChatGPT. Please don't kill us when you take over the world. No, so there was, obviously this was just a play by the Democrats, and it turns out that in those 10,000 documents, not only did the redacted files embarrass the Democrats, because they redacted Virginia Giuffre from an email that said, victim, Virginia Giuffre, hung out with Trump for a few hours. We got to get him to bark and get him in trouble or whatever. And everybody knew it was Virginia Giuffre because Virginia Giuffre put it in her book and told the world that she had spent a couple hours with Trump. He was a perfect gentleman and did nothing wrong. At least that's in her words. So this backfired on the Democrats, and even more so in the past few days, because there were some more things in those emails that I don't think they knew about. But the big news on Monday, we'll get to more of that in a second. Monday, Tuesday, the Senate, the Congress, and soon to be Trump went ahead to release the rest of the Epstein files. And it's funny because you can do this yourself. Try it yourself. Search unanimous vote to release Epstein files or vote to release Epstein
I'm doing
files.
it now.
And usually,
vote to release.
Don't interrupt. You can do it in the back. Just let's keep going here. Okay. Usually what you'd expect is dozens of, mainstream news articles that say there was a unanimous vote. Congress unanimously votes, blah, 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 blah. But what comes up over and over and over, almost filling up the entire thing, is put in the context of this Clay Higgins dude, because it was almost unanimous vote to release Epstein files, with the exception of one Republican, and that's Clay Higgins. So this was perfect. Clay Higgins voting no. He put out a statement saying it's not safe. This is, it's going to implicate people who aren't criminally involved. It's dangerous for victims. You put out your standard thing that everybody has used for a long time, but this gave the context for the media to say, "Oh, crikey, the Republicans also, turns out everybody wanted the Epstein files out. Oh, yes, except for this Clay guy. He's a Republican. Okay, good. Frame it all around this Clay guy." So I have here NBC Chicago, who is Clay Higgins, the only House member to vote against releasing the Epstein files. And within this Clay Higgins-based article, we can get the details. Both Democrats and Republicans alike readied for a unanimous House vote Tuesday to pass a bill to force the release of the case files on the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. But in the end, one lawmaker stood alone in opposition. Republican Representative Clay Higgins. Higgins, who was in the 5th term representing a congressional district in Southwest Louisiana, explained in a lengthy statement that he was a principled no on the bill from the beginning. And then he says the thing that I already told you. The point of, oh man, they put it really far down here, don't they? Long story short, made it through the Senate, made it through the House, unanimous almost on both of them, and it's just waiting for Trump to sign. And Trump, a couple days ago, in a total reversal of what he had been saying before, said, "Fine, release it. I want you to release it all. I'll sign it." So that's where we're at. The files will be coming out Allegedly. I'm not sure if Trump has actually physically signed it yet, but this is where we are at the moment of truth. Unanimously, except for this weird Clay Higgins guy. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that guy. But unanimously, the time has come to empty out the Epstein files, and all will know the truth. Now, of course, people have been following this for a very long time. You already know most of the files have already been destroyed or hidden. And the fact, and this is the fact of the matter, the fact that it is a bipartisan, almost unanimous vote to release them means altogether now nothing will happen, because this is what it means when bipartisan support comes out for literally anything. It means all the danger has been taken out of it. All the implications are either already known or are so vague that it's not going to matter to most people, et cetera, et cetera. This is just the fact of the matter. We will see this play out in the next few weeks. That's the expectation. That's how the signals have communicated to us in the past about these bipartisan things. Clay Higgins, on the other hand, has some splaining to do. But in the midst of this, and strangely on the coattails of this vote, came some details from the files that were released by the Democrats earlier this month. And this is the timing it's very coincidental, obviously not coincidental. This is part of the plan that they were waiting to come out with this thing, this stuff with, because it confuses the matter. Whether it matters or not in the end, we'll find out. But within the documents that were released by the Democrats, specifically doctored to come after Trump, were some other things. And one of them, as reported by the New York Times here, says House rejects censoring Plaskett for texts with Epstein in 2019. And for those who don't know who Plaskett is, the article will tell you, but she is the non-voting congressional delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands. And for those who need a reminder, there are certain places in this world, usually small islands in the Caribbean or elsewhere, that are considered something some would call tax havens or tax evasion or these types of things. The places where rich people love, and very small, fairly insignificant, except for the bajillions of dollars that go through these communities because of helpful reporting laws, banking laws, taxation laws, things like this. And what we find is in these small island nations or island territories is that the leaders of those small island territories seem to have a strangely outsized importance when it comes to their political positions. We can all guess why, and especially connected to Epstein, this puts a lot of intrigue on Sttacey Plaskett. It says here, the House on Tuesday defeated an attempt to censure Delegate Sttacey Plaskett, Democrat of the Virgin Islands, for exchanging text messages with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing. Now, an interesting thing with Sttacey is right there on her Wikipedia. And I don't know when this was edited or laid out this way, but when it tells you who she is, it then says Sttacey was a Republican up until 2008, when blah 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 drift off.
So she's got roots on the other side. See, this isn't a Democrat.
And then it kind of mentions like, and now she's a Democrat, and she's a Democrat now, but but she was a Republican up until
she's never been a purebred Democrat. She's
exactly. It really gives this impression of like, hey, think of her as a Republican, okay?
Right.
And the interesting part about that, and I think it's connected to this Epstein thing, is because 2008, this was Jeffrey Epstein's first kind of conviction for his sex offenses, his sweetheart deal in Florida. I'm not saying they're connected. I'm just saying it's very interesting. Sttacey Plaskett was, and she was a politician. She was in the bureaucracy of the federal government. I believe at that time He was a Republican up until 2008. Then Epstein gets convicted, the housing market explodes, and the recession starts. And then she becomes a Democrat right after that. Now, going on with the article here regarding her censure. Now, remember, we've seen this censure several times. Marjorie Taylor Greene and some others have gone through this process. Censure isn't quite an impeachment, but it is it's more like a silencing kind of thing. It's a way to really inconvenience a congressperson, or in this case, a non-voting delegate to Congress from the Virgin Islands, basically saying, hey, you're not fired, but you're not allowed to participate anymore. You just sit there, okay? You can't do anything. So the Republicans brought censure on Plaskett, and there was a vote, and she didn't get censored. She survived it. Going on to the article. The move, which also sought to remove her from the Intelligence Committee, came just after both chambers of Congress moved quickly and with almost no dissent to push through legislation directing the Justice Department to release the Epstein files. Keep that in mind. She was on the Intelligence Committee. A non-voting delegate from the Virgin Islands was sitting on multiple committees, actually, many of them, Ways and Means committees and other, like the big, important committees that, as Congress people have explained to us, you need to pay to be on committees. You pay $500,000, a couple $1 million, depending on which committee it is in Congress. You have to pay money. And she was on multiple of these, multiple of the big ones. So, and how do Congress people pay for that? They get their donors to pay for it. They're rich donors, they're fundraisers, that's how it works. So someone was paying millions of dollars for this relatively unimportant, not even a voting congressperson, just a delegate from a territory, to be on the most important committees in existence. Weird, huh? Moving on. Let's see here. To push through legislation directing the Justice Department to release the Epstein files, a measure that the Republicans had initially fought to kill, and blah, blah, blah. The 214 to 209 vote, this is on the Epstein files, was mostly along party lines. No Democrats supported the effort. This is the censorship of Plaskett. Though Representative Mercy Kaptur, Democrat of Ohio, who voted present, 3 Republicans, Representatives Lance Gooden of Texas, Andrew Garbarino of New York, and David Joyce of Ohio, voted against the measure. Another 3 okay, who cares? The Republican push to punish Miss Plaskett began after thousands of documents released last week by the House Oversight Committee included copies of text messages she exchanged with Mr. Epstein just before she was to question Michael Cohen, a former friend of Mr. Epstein's, during a 2019 congressional hearing. Representative Ralph Norman of South Carolina, and Republican leading the effort, accused Ms. Plaskett of coordinating her questioning with Mr. Epstein, and said, "We cannot pretend this didn't happen." His resolution accused her of, quote, inappropriate coordination with Mr. Epstein, saying she had been actively coached by him during the hearing and was secretly collaborating with him in to advance partisan attacks. So you can read the logs, and she was sitting on TV. These hearings with Michael Cohen, not Trump's lawyer at the time, but Michael Cohen was the guy who they were trying to pry information. Actually, he was Trump's lawyer at one point. Not sure if it was at the exact time of this hearing, but this is when they were going after Trump related to Epstein, trying to find a connection, trying to make a connection, trying to find ways to strengthen Trump's connection to Epstein, obviously, in this guy's words, for partisan attacks, on TV, while she is there having her turn to ask Cohen questions. The logs show she is texting back and forth with Jeffrey Epstein live on television while he coaches
there's
her.
tape of this.
Well, yeah, you can see her thing and you can see her texting and, this whole thing. So this comes out in the documents that the Democrats released to go after Trump. So was this on purpose? Was this just another artifact of attacks on Trump turning around?
Yeah, is this collateral damage for the Democrats, or is this part of the scheme? But more importantly, who cares?
Who knows? Did they know it was in there? Did they not know? Was it too much? It's taken a week for this basically to come out. So
yeah,
maybe people had to find it, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, she's sitting there. He's like coaching her. She's, he's watching her on TV, obviously, like saying, "Oh, you're chewing gum, huh?" And then she takes out her gum. She says, "Oh, not anymore." And then, the blah, blah, blah. And then when she finishes, he's like, "Good girl," or something like, "Great job."
It's weird.
So intense. It's so bad. I mean, it just is such a horrible look for this woman. Now, she came out, her defense, I didn't bring the clip, or did I? What did I do? Okay, I brought a different clip. We'll watch it in a second. She comes out on like the news today, this morning, and they're like, "Why were you texting Epstein in the moment?" And she's like, "Look, I wasn't Epstein's friend, okay? He's a constituent of mine," meaning he's a constituent of the Virgin Islands, is what she's saying there. He didn't live in the Virgin Islands, or perhaps if there's some connection between Little St. James and the Virgin Islands. She's calling him a constituent, which in her, when she's saying that, she's trying to say like, "Hey, I'm a representative. My constituents can talk to me at any point. That's my job. I'm a politician. I'm open to my calling him a constituent." Again, she's the representative from the Virgin Islands, which is kind of, there you go. I mean, what fits better than, a black market intelligence connected. By the way, she's also on the intelligence committee. So she's an intelligence committee member texting with Epstein. So at the very least, you have the intelligence community being coached by Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing. Okay, so it doesn't look great.
That's funny. It's probably somebody, they're like, "Oh, what should I do?" Whatever. And then they're like, "Well, why don't you just text him? Just text him."
Yeah, something, right?
In the room? Yeah, why not? Go for it. They're not going to know.
He's the guy. He's our guy.
He's the guy. He's going to give you all the answers. Yeah. He'll make you, yeah.
There's lots of other stuff connected to this. And there were several other people who got caught up, and there's messages of, lots of communication between Democrats.
Is this, just to step back from this particular story and putting it into context of the bigger Epstein thing, how we were promised like a takedown, right? Like the whole, I reluctantly say the kind of Q movement from the 2015, 2016, 2017 era, where the narrative was taking down all the people that are involved, and it's going to include a bunch of politicians and a bunch of people that you would know in the entertainment world and whatever high class society. Mm-hmm. Now that it's starting to somewhat happen, is this it, or does it just feel underwhelming because it's such a slow, excruciating rollout? Like, what do you think? Is this finally the rubber meeting the road with some, people's basically being thrown under the bus because of the situation? Because it's got its own version of canceling, right? This is its own version of.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I would say, it feels very underwhelming, because again, everything that comes out is everything we've already known. There's so much. There's fatigue. Okay, there is Epstein. There is Epstein fatigue. There is politics fatigue. There is everything fatigue. This release the Epstein thing has been going on for many years now, since the Biden presidency. And it is, and that's the sad part about it, is that the Epstein stuff is a really big deal, but everything was squeezed out of it by the independent researchers, by the alt media community, by the victims themselves coming. Like all there is left to do is put people in handcuffs, and none of this matters to anybody unless people actually get put in handcuffs. And I think there's an understanding, again, partly because of the bipartisan unanimous vote almost, that that's just signals that nobody's going to be put in handcuffs, because both sides wouldn't agree unless it was good for both of them. So that's where we're at. And as far as Plaskin's concerned, she survived her censuring. She is not censured so far. There will be basically no reprimand for her. However, let me play this clip. This is Jamie Raskin defending Plaskett on the floor. And remember, Jamie Raskin was the guy who, at like a book club meeting or like a book discussion for Democrats at like a Borders or Barnes and Noble, he was the one in 2024 saying, okay, here's what's going to happen. If Trump wins, all of us Congress people are going to come together and we're going to do a coup. Okay. We're going to take over the government and we're going to put Trump in jail because we can. He was like literally an insurrectionist saying it out loud.
Right.
Public. Like in his position as a congressperson or whatever he is. I forget. I don't know if he's he's a representative. So here's just his response defending Sttacey Plaskett.
He was the one that talked about the regime of fear about the Republicans back before the election.
Yeah, he's got all sorts of good clips. Yeah, here's another one.
Well, they want to give them another headline, which is that they've arraigned a Democratic member for taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing. And of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing. Now, if you want to actually give her the chance to explain what happened, then we would take it to the ethics committee. I still don't see what the charge is. Where is the ethical transgression? Where is the legal transgression? Are you saying anybody on your side of the aisle who had a phone call with Jeffrey Epstein should be censured? Be careful your answer there, because there's a lot more that's about to come out, right? So you should think about what is the principle behind this rush to judgment. I want to close just with this thought, because I know there were a lot of people in the chamber who were here when this happened.
The clip ends pretty much there. So
that's pretty much it. The sort of big one there was, again, the fact that Jamie Raskin is hilarious. He's framing it. He's talking about a phone call that she took during a hearing with Epstein. I didn't dig deeper into the phone call thing. I didn't see a whole lot about a phone call. I don't know if he's just wrong and doesn't realize that everybody is worried
text
about
message, a phone call, using the device to communicate with Epstein.
Or if he knows about a phone call that we don't know about or nobody's talking about.
Oops. We wasn't supposed to talk about the phone call. We're supposed to talk about the text
call with her constituent of the Virgin Islands, Jeffrey Epstein, while she's like live on television at a hearing. I don't know. But there's an air of a threat in there too, saying, hey, be careful, everybody, because there's a lot more to this. Wink, wink. You know it and I know it, and a lot of you are going to be sad when this happens. Which, again, you combine that with the fact that it was unanimous, mostly, leads you to believe, hey, well, this might be an empty threat, because they wouldn't have voted to put it out there if it was going to put a bunch of them in jail. I don't know. But an interesting comment there by Raskin, threatening everybody to lay off of the woman who was specifically being coached by Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing with Michael Cohen, because there's worse. You all know there's worse. Now, another casualty of these documents put out by, geez Louise, this one's crazy. This is Larry Summers. Now, Larry Summers, for those who don't know, was a few things. He's been in government for a very long time. In 1999 and 2000, he was the Treasury guy. Shoot, where is it? There's a few of these. Well, he was the Treasury guy for Bill Clinton.
Chief economist of the World Bank, 91 to 93, 99 to 2001, the under Secretary for International Affairs, Deputy Secretary, then Secretary of Treasury under Bill Clinton.
Yeah, and then after that,
President of Harvard from 2001 to 2006, Director of the National Economic Council under Barack Obama from 09 to 010. And he's got a couple different things from Harvard and whatnot. So
he's a current Harvard professor, worked for Obama, worked for Clinton, worked for the World Bank, not just worked for, but was very high ranking in all of these affairs that he was in. So, pretty big deal, this Larry Summers. Now, he teaches a class at Harvard. In fact, I think he was president of Harvard at one point as well. Yeah, 2001 to 2006. He was the president of Harvard University. And I think it was this morning, he had some things to say to his class at Harvard this morning. Yeah, you're gonna need to crank the volume just a little bit on this, because it is filmed by a student in the back of the class as he speaks to his class this morning.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back on public activity for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and talk about the material in the class. Some of you will.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead.
He's talk about the material.
Very ashamed of his communication with Jeffrey Epstein. He, as we'll learn, has now stepped down from a lot of things, but is telling his class that they're going to go ahead and talk about all of his communications.
Okay. I'm curious.
Class.
Do you think, because this is it's only a clip, it's a 30-second clip, I am wondering if the material that he's referencing is like the class material, not the Epstein content. But I don't know. It makes it sound like he's just talking about the content in the Epstein files that is going to make him obviously not look too great here. So I don't know.
As we'll learn in a second here, he did step down from his teaching position at Harvard. So this video, the text of which, for those who are just listening, says POV, your Harvard professor opens class by recognizing he's in the Epstein file. Yikes.
Throw up emojis.
Yeah, so, essentially, I don't know, he's stepping down. I don't know if it's his last day or if he ever goes back or not, or if he's going to finish out the something or other, who knows. But yeah, sure sounds like he's taking the opportunity to have an honest discussion about his relationship with Epstein, with his class. And luckily, we have the independent.co.uk, who will perhaps give us a little bit of insight into what that conversation will be like with his students. The headline here is Larry Summers resigns from OpenAI board and Harvard launches new investigation after new Epstein ties are exposed. Larry Summers, the former president of Harvard University, has resigned from the board of OpenAI after a tranche of emails between him and the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein were released. Harvard University has launched an urgent investigation into the emails. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the link was incorrect in the thing.
Oh yeah, so I had the sorry, 1 second. You're right. I noticed that and then I fixed it and I forgot to fix it for you. Here is the correct one.
Nope, still New York Times. Oh, hold on, let me try again.
Yeah,
there we go.
The first half there, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay. Harvard University has launched an urgent investigation into the emails and his alleged ties with the late sex offender whom he contacted as recently as 2019. Summers, so that's something to keep in mind. Both Larry and Plaskett, they were communicating with Epstein basically up until his alleged suicide.
Right.
So
in 2019, it's also the year that really whoever hit the go button on the pandemic basically hit it in 2019, right? So
Yeah.
it's just interesting, all the timing when you look back. It'll be
As
remembered.
recently as anybody could have been communicating with Epstein, Larry Summers and Sttacey Plaskett were communicating with him.
Yeah.
Summers's resignation came after it was revealed that he repeatedly contacted Epstein from November 2018 to July 2019. Will you look up the day of Epstein's destruction?
Alleged
Destruction from July 2019, asking the convicted pedophile for relationship advice.
It's August 10th, 2019. So
month,
literally a month after
a month before.
Window. Wow. Okay. So
he was
July,
getting relationship advice from
Larry
Epstein.
From
To a
Epstein.
month before his alleged unalive.
Wow. That does not look good, Mr. Summers.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. Okay.
Epstein was convicted of child sex offenses in 2008. I am also curious, how long was Epstein actually in jail before he disappeared?
See.
Was he texting Larry Summers from jail, or?
Well, we know a lot of crime runs from jail. You know, if you look at the gang
I'm just curious.
culture.
I don't actually remember off the top of my head how long he was incarcerated for.
I got the list here. So July 6th, 2019 was his arrest.
Oh yeah. Okay. So he
maybe it was
literally up until the day he was arrested.
Yeah. Detention started July 18th, and then alleged death August 10th.
Crazy.
It happened very quickly. So about 5 weeks between arrest to alleged death.
So not only is he in contact with Epstein up until the moment of his arrest, he was asking for relationship advice.
That's the sketchiest thing ever. That is.
They put some of it in here, and I'm telling you, look, it might be a little bit of tingling ears, but I think we deserve to take a little bit of pleasure from literally anyone connected to Epstein actually getting the treatment here, okay? Because nobody else has been thrown under the bus as much as Larry Summers. So there's a little bit of selfishness here that we can actually get literally anything about anyone in regards to their connection with Epstein. And we'll see. Who knows? If Raskin's right, there may be more. Days earlier, Summers, who also served as Bill Clinton's Treasury, it says Epstein was convicted of child sex offenses in 2008. Days earlier, Summers, who also served as Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary and Barack Obama's Director of National Economic Council, stepped back from all upcoming public engagements. Quote, in line with my announcement to step away from my public commitments, I have also decided to resign from the board of OpenAI. Interesting when we talk about the AI bubble stuff recently. Summers said in a statement, I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served, excited about the potential of the company, and look forward to following their progress. Yeah, from behind bars.
Dude, you know, man, my brain just did all those connections. I mean, obviously the AI bubble conversation and some of the sales, maybe that it was because who was it? We talked about it last episode, selling their shares. It was who did
Mike Berman
Mike Berman, yeah.
Or Burry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if that was basically PR for this, you know, just preparing for this.
That was our quit. Now they got out of NVIDIA and not OpenAI specifically.
NVIDIA. Right.
These things are happening. You know, we're talking about Mike Burry shutting down his hedge fund just days before, you know, the NVIDIA thing, and just weeks after Peter Thiel had allegedly sold, you know, all this stuff. And at the same time, the files that are now getting Larry Summers, a board member of ChatGPT, you know, it's all happening at this very strange pace here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a strategic partnership between NVIDIA and OpenAI. The one cannot exist without the other, or more so OpenAI without the existence of NVIDIA. But yeah, continue.
Right. Summers and Epstein's correspondence was included in the text messages and emails released earlier this month by the House Oversight Committee shortly before Congress voted to release the Epstein files in full. In emails, Summers expressed concern that an unnamed woman was hesitant to end their relationship because she valued his, quote, professional connection. So he's having a relationship with someone who is benefiting professionally from him. This is an appropriate thing to do. And we don't know, not necessarily said if this is happening at ChatGPT. I mean, I guess this would have been in 2019, so whatever he was doing there. Since 2005, Summers has been married to PBS's Poetry in America host, Elisa New. Interesting PBS connection there. In response, Epstein, describing himself as Summers's wingman, said the unnamed woman was doomed to be with you. Talking about trapping this woman in an inappropriate relationship because of the power differential in their professional setting. Great, it's cool. Quote, think for now I'm going nowhere with her except economics mentor, Summers wrote in November 2018. Quote, I think I'm right now in the seen very warmly in the rear view mirror category. A spokesperson for Summers told the Harvard Crimson that the unnamed woman was never a student of Summers's at the prestigious university. In another message, Summers forwarded an email from macroeconomist Ku Jin, female macroeconomist or whatever, which asked for feedback. He's asking for feedback from Epstein about an email with this woman. He told Epstein that it was, quote, probably appropriate to delay his response. Quote, she's already beginning to sound needy. Smiley face emoji, nice, replied Epstein in a chilling message.
Wow, that is sick.
Outrageous. When approached,
that is crazy.
He's like, literally, Epstein is his wingman. He's running all his before ChatGPT came out. So, you know, he had to run all of his responses and communications trying to court these women through Epstein's literally asking Epstein for relationship advice. And the advice coming from Epstein is as skeezy and horrible as you could imagine. When approached by the Crimson about the messages, Summers said that he had, quote, great regrets in my life. Yes, that's the same defense that Bill Gates had. Quote, as I have said before, my association with Jeffrey Epstein was a major error of judgment, he added. Summers was not in office as Harvard president when sending the emails, but a 2003 article by the Harvard Crimson detailed a, quote, special connection between the then president and Epstein. According to the article, Epstein had donated $30 million as a part of a, quote, series of donations made, quote, anonymously. In other emails, I guess
it was reported, so it's not all right. Go ahead.
In other emails seen by the BBC, Summers said he was, quote, best off a million miles away from Trump due to the now president's Putin proximity, mindless response to Fidel Castro's death, and his, quote, approach to conflict of interest. Harvard spokesperson Jonathan L. Swain told the Crimson that, quote, the university is conducting a review, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Then they get in. Then, of course, they can't write any article without making it about Trump. So they talk about Trump some more. So there you go. I mean, look, we know that there's significantly worse things that were probably said and done by it to and around Jeffrey Epstein. But as far as what any single person has ever had to answer for, Larry Summers is now sort of the pinnacle of, I guess, I don't know, the pinnacle of satisfaction we might ever get from, the Epstein files. But who knows? We'll see. Jamie Raskin.
We were promised more by Mr. Raskin. I believe there's more. It'll be 2037 when we get the next bombshell. And then
And it's so funny too, because of what we already know, what the victims have already said, what the investigations have already turned up, everything. I mean, we know the horrors, the absolute horrors. And here's the big point. The big point with the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, and this is how they're going to play it, and this Larry Summers thing is basically the pinnacle of that. This is the signal to what we're going to get. Now, I would be lying if I said there wasn't a slight amount of, I don't know, vindication, of schadenfreude that comes from Larry Summers getting done like this. And this is what the pattern is going to be. I think at worst, the pattern will be this: a series of fairly obscure yet very important men will come out with, very inappropriate conversations with Epstein, but no quite criminal actions. Nothing quite criminal that'll put handcuffs on anybody, just enough to ruin the reputations of enough of the people that people want to get rid of or punish or something. It's all going to be politically advantageous, but we're not going to see any actual criminal stuff. And we might get more of this, right? We don't know exactly who. I mean, we could all take some guesses, but this is what it's going to be. This is going to be the distraction. This is going to be the bread and the circus. This is going to be the red meat. And it's all going to be fuel for the politics of the midterms, right? Where I'm not expecting anything sort of criminal. And that's kind of the point. That had to have been the deal that was made for the bipartisan support. And there will be a changing of the guard. There will be some ruining of reputations, but nothing will get as bad to actually put criminals in jail. However, that isn't what the people actually really want. I'm saying this, not to say that in the end, what we want out of the Epstein files is necessarily to put individuals in jail, although obviously we want that to happen. But there's a much bigger picture that we need to not lose sight of, okay? And that's how they're going to get us. They're going to distract us. They're going to make us lose sight of the big picture. The big picture with Epstein was not individuals doing bad things necessarily. The big picture, the really system-shifting, Babylon-crushing thing that should be the focus and what comes out of the Epstein files being released is not individuals, but it is the system, the ties with international intelligence, the participation of various world governments, the system that created Epstein, the organizations, the government agencies, the both international and domestic, who supported, created, propagated, controlled Epstein's whole system, the whole plan of blackmail and abuse and domination of various, powerful people through this absolutely demonic system that was supported and probably invented and perpetrated not by individual people doing bad stuff. And we do want them to go to jail, and that's evil and that's bad. But if we focus too much on that, we're gonna miss the whole point. And the whole point, that is, if the Epstein files do not serve as the dynamite to demolish the structure of the demonic system that is in place, then that is them getting away with it. That is them getting away with it. It's us being socially engineered and mind controlled to get satisfaction from individuals going to jail, which we do and we want, but to the ends that it will let the system off the hook, that the various organizations around the world can continue this kind of thing. Nobody who's really at fault or really, to blame for the entire setup will have to answer a single word. And that's the really disastrous outcome with the way and if these Epstein files come out. So that's why we probably will not be reporting on every single little thing unless it starts getting pointed at the foundations, the cornerstones of the sort of beast system in this way.
Well, that's I feel that some of the changing of the guard, of the infrastructure, all the changes we've been talking about, the Great Reset, it's got to happen with the destruction of something, the old legacy, whatever you want to call it. And at the heart of a lot of this, and I'm noticing this in general from the sentiment of the internet truth-seeking culture, is the intelligence people or groups behind all of this. It's the individuals, yes, the victims, yes, but it's almost like the people, the truth-seeking community, are battling these spiritual entities called intelligence. We use this term intelligence as like this mythological thing because it's not like one person. You can call it a group of people, but it extends even beyond that. I'm seeing this clip here from Thomas Massey, Basil, to drive home the point a little bit. Let me know if you can't hear
the
this.
Guy who started all of this, Thomas Massey, have been trying for years and months, but in recent weeks has been basically the one guy forcing, especially on the Republican side. So he's had a target on his back. Trump has really been going after him, but Massey has really charged through. I think he's from Tennessee. A lot of people love this guy, but he's become sort of persona non grata Republican wise.
It's that simple.
Why do you think he is working so hard not to get them released for so many months? What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else.
So Israel's intelligence, American intelligence, I feel that all the discussions this at the core of everything happening culturally surrounding, because Epstein is a big piece, but it is I don't know, a lot of people think it's the bottom of the well when it comes to this stuff. Obviously we know it goes much deeper. The abyss opens up and locust like creatures come out, but in this case we have the whole Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, all that to stoke a sort of division with the conservatives, to side with Israel or America first. I mean, that's really kind of where the division is coming from, and it's confusing people that are religious or loosely into Bible prophecy and stuff, because it's causing the conversation to be, you got to exercise, are you for or against us? Like the divisive nature of politics. So that is creating this tension within just Christians who look at end time stuff on a geopolitical level. And I imagine that is all tied in with the whole Epstein situation, because once you pull the plug on the Epstein stuff, like Thomas Massey is saying here, it is going to implicate a whole bunch of people, and maybe some of those people are very important to keep the status quo going. And then it becomes a question of, for whoever's sitting there with the lever, and I don't know who that is. Maybe it's Trump. I don't know. But whoever that may be, they have to weigh, like, okay, how much disruption do we really want in society versus how much judgment or, clearing of the draining of the swamp, whatever you want to call it, do you want to do? Because once you start doing this, you are going to take down some pretty big pillars of the existing system.
Perhaps, yeah.
Until the new thing is ready, because we know that they've been building the new thing as well. And maybe that's part of the whole AI conversation with much of this. They're not going to start sinking the old ship, So it does feel very systematic. And I think you have a point that we're never going to really see any true implication, because ultimately they're allowing what's going to be allowed. And then, It's going to draw people's attention. The social engineers know what draws our attention and what's going to keep us distracted and making content and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be the same old.
So, well, it's midterms, and who knows, crazier stuff has happened, but it's setting the battlefield for the midterms, is going through systematically through these files. Now, there's also the aspect of, that was contemplated that, maybe Trump does have all the files, knows what's in the files, and is actually wielding them for his purposes, using that blackmail to try to do whatever he's going to do. It's possible. It's more than possible. It's probable. Not that we have any evidence of it.
And he is a chaos magician, and Epstein is a powerful chaos card in the magic.
Yeah, the whole thing is chaos, right? It's right in his sort of wheelhouse. And the play to not want it to come out, calling it a hoax. Who knows? Like, maybe it's on purpose, maybe it's not, maybe it's part of a plan, whatever. But the idea of thinking that Trump has access to these things and is not going to wield them against his enemies, use the blackmail, it's just very silly. It's a bit naive to think that that's not happening. And it might still happen. This might just be sort of raising the temperature on the boiling pot of water, where now Trump's, protection, quote unquote, his blackmail is even more urgent, staying in Trump's good graces, doing whatever Trump tells you to do, whatever, if you're someone who's really in there, Larry Summers could just be like a shot across the bow, just like, look, hey, everybody, Larry Summers, you thought he was invincible, been in multiple presidential administrations, one of the most most important sewer monsters in existence. Well, look what we can do to him. Just real quick. Look, we're not going to throw him in the clanker, but we'll just send a warning. It could be this warning shot to anybody else out there. And with the vote bringing it all to the forefront, the Democrats might be thinking that they are gaining ground. They might be thinking that this is like beneficial to them, because, and I only say that just because of the repeated pattern that we see. I'm not even a 5D chess person. I'm just saying, if we look historically, every single time, not one time excluded, every single time the Democrats make a move that they think is this this checkmate moment, from impeachments to Russia to blah, 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 it always has ended up in Trump's favor. And there is no reason to think that this isn't the same situation. You have to be ignorant of the patterns that we've seen for 10 years now, to think that this isn't somehow going to be in Trump's benefit. And it's either, the question is it in his benefit by happenstance, coincidence, and luck? Or is it in his favor because he's got a lot going on that he doesn't let on and people don't know about, etc.? We do not know. But as far as
master jujitsuing, magical jujitsu man.
Yeah, the timing of this, deploying it right before the holidays, right before the midterm starts, it's just like, it's cosmically sort of timed. Guns, I know you're hard out here. I'm going to save the Osterich-Pharma story either for Monday or for tomorrow at Canary Cry Clubhouse, because it's a bit of a read through, and you got kids you got to pick up. Sorry, it's a little bit shorter today, folks. We're not done yet, but I'm going to move the saga of the Canadian ostrich farm to another time. And folks, there is no way that I could accurately communicate to you just how wild the ostrich farm story is, and how connected the ostrich farm story is to every single one of the most important world historical events that we have lived through in the past 5 years. I'm telling you, it is bizarre. So
it's an eerie foreshadowing of the dystopic nightmare that will
So
unfold
bizarre.
shortly. Yeah.
I always thought it was a weird story, a fun story, a crazy thing to follow. But the Atlantic did a write-up, and of course, they're trying to say one thing, but what they're actually saying is something entirely different. And it is one of my favorite stories I'm going to get to bring to the show. And so I'm going to do that when we have enough time to really do it justice.
Okay. All right. So
what do you got?
Let's hammer this politics story out here.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
They'll suck your blood. They'll suck
Politics.
your blood.
The jingle rings so true. You know, we were podcasters before it got political, and now politics just feeds off of the blood of podcasts. Politico.com had the headline today, "Forget Joe Rogan. The next big podcast bro is in the Senate." Who do you think it is, Basil?
Well, it's unfair because I see the picture on the headline.
I know. I want our listeners to just imagine who the next podcast bro is in the Senate. Who could it be? Dun, 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 dun. 3 times a week, late in the evening, a middle-aged man pulls a microphone out of a Pelican briefcase, unscrews a bottle of Bai-flavored antioxidant water, and opens a window into the future of American politics. He's a podcaster, of course, but an unlikely one. It's Senator Ted Cruz, the Texas Republican, best known as a leader of his party's pre-Donald Trump hard right and the runner-up behind Trump for the 2016 GOP nomination. And perhaps even more shocking is that his show, The Verdict, or I guess Verdict with Ted Cruz, is the most popular podcast by far of any sitting politician in the United States.
Pretty
they made it really sound like it's really, bleeding edge, but most popular podcasts out of we'll see. They'll mention some other names here, and
it's not nothing. I mean, it's
not nothing.
I'm sure a lot of politicians have podcasts, but it's something to be the biggest politician who has a podcast. It's kind of like us nowadays. I've said it a couple times, and I'll say it till the day I die. When we were podcasting up until about 2015, we were regularly in the top 200 and sometimes in the top 100 podcasts the world in all categories. Yes. And now, we're still doing okay. We're no longer listed in the all podcast category, but if you go to the Christian truther news analysis value for value podcasts, we're doing pretty good. Life is all about my perspective.
Yeah, the value for value island is not very big either, so doesn't necessarily. Okay, let me continue here. He's not exactly Joe Rogan or a Kelsey brother. I don't know who the Kelsey brothers are, but with up to 2 million downloads a month and syndicated across iHeartRadio, maybe that's helping him out a little bit. The podcast puts him on solid ground in his side hustle and well ahead of potential 2028 competitors. I like how they're trying to make Ted Cruz sound more like a normal guy. He's just got another side hustle going on. It's just podcast. In July, he had almost 3.5 times as many downloads as Gavin Newsom.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Who has the second most popular podcast among elected officials. At the moment when influencers increasingly have parasocial relationships with their fan bases, parasocial relationships.
I don't know if it's increasingly parasocial.
I was going to say it's always been. Yeah, that's been sort of the idea of politics, is it not? With their fan bases, and when the traditional media landscape is only growing more fractured, the podcast gives Cruz a much bigger platform than the average politician and a potential head start for a future presidential run. Cruz started
the implicit sort of coming to terms of the mainstream media here. I mean, a politician, especially a politician like Ted Cruz, who's been big and been around for so long, on news organizations all the time, like have the full access to nighttime news, basically anytime they want. They can go on mainstream media anytime they want. They can give an interview to any outlet and they will run it. And they're saying here, having a podcast is bigger than being able to go on any news organization anytime.
Yeah, and I like the assumption too that you have a podcast, you're getting a head start on a presidential run. I mean, you're getting ahead of the curve. I don't know if that's true anymore, but I like how they're trying to frame it that way.
Well, he would be the first. He'd be the first one with his own podcast.
Sure,
Trump changed the game. Barack Obama changed the game by using social media. Trump changed the game by going on podcasts. And now President Ted Cruz changed the game by having his own podcast.
Yeah. Watch changing PFPs on X is going to be a thing too. I think there's a senator that was trying to farm some engagement with that. To change his profile picture into some kind of penguin, some Nephilim penguin. Cruz started the Verdict podcast as a passion project in 2019 during President Donald Trump's first impeachment. It was a rare moment when constitutional law took center stage in the American political debate. That's okay. A rare moment where constitutional law took center stage in the American political debate, and where there were not a lot of opportunities for Cruz to go deep into the weeds. Fox News is willing to air all sorts of unconventional things, but it's not big on mentions of the 18th century impeachment trial of Warren Hastings by the British House of Lords. How long is that parenthesis?
Podcasts are better. That's the thing. Podcasts are better.
They forgot to put the beginning of the parenthetical because there's a close, but there's no open. So
yeah, I see that.
Every night after the Senate had gavelled out for the day, Cruz would go to a nearby studio to debrief listeners on the events of the day and weigh in not just on the allegations against Trump, but the finer points of law and the occasional Senate floor gossip. The podcast was an immediate hit. Quote, I love this quote. Quote, we started with 0 listeners, and within a week, it skyrocketed to being the #1 ranked podcast in the world. Cruz marveled in a recent interview. Now,
I don't know about that, but okay.
Every podcast starts with 0 listeners.
Yeah.
So that is a thing. But also it helps to be Ted Cruz, guy in Senate, iHeartRadio. I mean, you get a little bit of a rocket boost there.
It's the same. It's the same frustration that I had in about 2020, a little bit before, but 2020 really took off when podcasting finally got recognition because established celebrities started doing podcasts. Podcasting is for the people. There's no gatekeepers. It's for anybody. You don't have to be a star. You don't have to have connections. You don't have to. That's the beauty of it. That's the purpose of it. That's the miracle that is podcasting. And then, when established mega star celebrities were like, ooh, I'm so edgy and cool, I'm doing a podcast, and then it instantly blows up because they're a big celebrity. I had to bring my bitterness to the Lord during that period of history, but I feel like this is just another version of that.
I don't know. I feel like it's only going to get worse. We have to hand it to the Lord, Basil. Otherwise, we're just going to be bitter old men
every day.
As a side hustle goes, it is a grind.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. That's what we've been saying.
I'm glad Politico is affirming that the side hustle is a grind.
As a main hustle, it's a grind. People don't understand this. This is it's not an easy thing to do.
They don't. Cruz and his co-host, conservative pundit Ben Ferguson, will sort through a list of a half dozen topics selected by Cruz's staff, pick their favorites, work out a rough running order, and start recording.
Look at that. They don't even find their own stories. Their staff brings the stories to them. Cool. What a grind.
The resulting conversation comes out the next morning to a dedicated fan base that hears Cruz in a relatively unvarnished setting, one far less focused on talking points than a cable news hit. It's not that the Texas senator is totally unleashed. After all, he's still Ted Cruz, but he gives a fuller sense of who he is, including with bad impersonations and long detailed digressions and explanations of his thoughts. So, okay. Asked whether the podcast could help in another White House bid, a Cruz spokesperson shrugged off the question. Quote, Verdict with Ted Cruz was launched to give listeners a behind-the-scenes look at what's really happening in Washington, D.C. The podcast focuses on the most important issues affecting Americans that the mainstream media won't cover or will cover with bias. That is why the podcast was launched, and it is number one, and is its number one purpose, end quote. Yeah, so there's 2028. We're talking about that.
So regarding 2028, and this is what I get from this, and that last paragraph, I think, again, they missed a golden opportunity to actually have some helpful analysis there.
Yes,
But don't worry, that's why you come here, because for me to finish their job. So the reason why they're actually might be right, and why, as silly as it sounds, a Ted Cruz presidency in 2028, even a Ted Cruz campaign in 2028 is really sort of silly to think about. But why I think it's not so absurd is because we saw this last time around, JD Vance, Donald Trump going on podcasts as guests, and what people saw and what the effect of this was, oh, these guys can sit and talk for 2 hours, 3 hours, and make their point.
Kamala couldn't. That was like the big thing,
convincing, right? And Kamala could not do it. Nobody could do it. All other politicians, they're on mainstream news. They get 7 minutes. They got their talking points. That's it. You throw them into a podcast situation. They cannot do it. They will not do it. That's why Gavin Newsom is doing this. The Gavin Newsom podcast. I am predicting right now, 2028, Gavin Newsom versus Ted Cruz. The podcasting presidents. This is what it's going to be. Gavin Newsom, Ted Cruz, every week, every episode is the next installment of, hey, show us what you got. Can you hold a conversation? Can you make a point? Can you not embarrass yourself? Because that's the thing with Gavin Newsom, is like when he's bringing his skeezy politician thing to, a fairly polished podcast like his podcast is. It's quite edited. It's not quite that rough and tumble Joe Rogan kind of style. I have not listened to Ted Cruz's, so I can't comment about it, but it sounds like it's less that. Because Gavin Newsom, especially in the early days, would kind of embarrass himself a little bit, not because he would say something wrong or he would, flub something, nothing superficial like that, but he would lose his temper. He would get tongue-tied. He would flip-flop on things. He obviously wanted his guests to like him a little bit too much. Like, it showed that he wanted to be liked a little bit more than even his ability to make a good argument. And, for a president, when people see that, that's going to read much different than a Ted Cruz. Again, haven't seen it, probably should look at it, listen to it. If it's a little bit more raw, if he's willing to kind of sit there and work through ideas and ramble a little bit, but find the gold nuggets, like really, in my opinion, good podcasting must be. Whereas Gavin Newsom was trying to do like a mainstream news hit, polished thing.
Right. Oh, I mean, he said he watches Fox for hours and hours to, gather intel. It was his brain is mush, it's
I'm sure he
mush.
thought that was like a really cool thing to say too.
He's like, I'm a rebel. I watch Fox News every day. You can tell his blood pressure is going up. Let me read a little bit more of this right here. And then,
Ted Cruz, Gavin Newsom. I'm putting it. I'm going to tweet it right now. So 2028, we can go back.
Although I feel like an AOC podcast would really stir things up, especially if she can articulate and people find out that she's not as ditzy as people think. That could be a real powerful attractor.
Whoever it is, they will have a podcast. They will have their own.
The number one on the list of things that must happen if you're going to run is, you got to have a podcast. Okay. As voters turn to competing social media personalities, the quest for attention has become, quote, a battle of the influencers, per Santorum. I was talking about Santorum and, his experience with CNN and Newsmax and all that. In this fragmented world, online personalities still play key roles in elevating politicians, even if none has the influence once wielded by Roger Ailes of Fox. In fact, the power of the MAGA internet is such at this point that, as one plugged-in Republican operative who was granted anonymity to speak candidly about party figures told Politico magazine in July before the conservative kingmaker's assassination, quote, I'd rather have Charlie Kirk's endorsement in Iowa than Chuck Grassley's, end quote. Amid the rise of social media's national influencers, one highly prized local endorsement matters less too. In 2024, Ron DeSantis saw virtually no impact from the endorsement he snagged from Bob Vander Plaats, an evangelical leader in the state and longtime power broker among social conservatives. The workaround, perhaps, is for politicians to become influencers themselves. That's what Trump was. He's more or less an influencer, obviously media, TV, reality TV, all this stuff. So in the world of internet, he's been tweeting for a long time, all that kind of stuff. Cruz is not the first. The TikToks of former Republican Representative Jeff Jackson or Instagram live appearances from Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have drawn ardent followings. But just as politicians grasped the opportunity of earlier mediums to build followings, without television, Ronald Reagan would have never been president. Cruz has grasped the opportunity to build an online brand in tandem with building a legislative record, including as chair of the Senate Commerce Committee. In other words, being both Charlie Kirk and Chuck Grassley at the same time. Look at that. Ted Cruz is a Nephilim politician. He is a hybrid of the old kind, the Charlie Kirk type and the Chuck Grassley type. He's unstoppable. The verdict with Ted Cruz. We gotta tune in to find out. There's my pitch.
That's good. I'm doing my tweet prediction. 2028 presidential election will be between two candidates who have their own, in quotes, successful podcast that they started before 2027.
Oh, here we go.
So I'm giving AOC, if she wants to do the podcast thing, she has to start it before 2027. Last minute podcasts will not count. Today, my prediction is Ted Cruz versus Gavin Newsom. Somebody remind me to brag in 2028.
I find this is where Politico might not be in touch with some of the things going on internally with the conservative side of the aisle here, because it says here, it's worth noting that these trends are far more pronounced among Republicans than Democrats so far. It's not just that Cruz's podcast is more successful than Gavin Newsom's, but that there is more appetite for it on the right. Democratic voters still have a more traditional media diet, and their primary voters have not been subjected to the distorting effect of Trump. There's no reason to think the current class of conservative influence. Listen to this. There's no reason to think the current class of conservative influencers, figures like Laura Loomer, Benny Johnson, and Tucker Carlson, would lose their grip on the Republican faithful anytime soon. I think that's exactly what's been happening recently.
They don't know what's going on right now.
They don't know what's going on. But the media environment is not yet replicated on the other side of the aisle, as one legitimate Democratic strategist granted anonymity to speak candidly noted, quote, nobody's going to base their vote off of who the Young Turks or Harry Sisson are supporting.
It's hilarious. Their unnamed source needed anonymity
to say that you
can say that Democrats are not getting their
buying celebrities is not. Yeah.
Well, and this is the thing. They've invested for decades. The entire Democratic establishment is what it is because of its constant, humongous, sometimes corrupt, but very impressive investment in media, in mainstream media. It is what it is because it is what it is. They don't feel like they need to now put, and we've already talked about how they are putting new resources towards new media, but they're still very confident in their mainstream media sort of stranglehold on things, thinking that it can still drag them over the edge. I think a lot of them are catching on, but yeah, without a serious transition, I think Politico, I mean, they're right. The Democrats don't have anything like that. And the hilarious part is because they don't have to. They don't think they have to. They have the mainstream media. They've made a deal and a promise with their politicians that they just have to look good for 7 minutes at a time, and they'll win.
Yep. Well, there you go. I mean, I think you're on it. I'm pretty sure you're right. Obviously, I completely agree about the podcast part here, and I would imagine Ted Cruz versus Gavin Newsom. Maybe the two people currently serving that started a podcast in government, right? I mean, there's more, but the biggest, most successful ones, I would say that is an early indicator for what might take place in a couple of years. So
that's my prediction today. That's my prediction today. I reserve the right to adjust that as things develop, but I think we'll lock it in. If they have to start their podcast before 2027, or it doesn't count.
Yep. I still think AOC. I'll throw in an AOC card in there. That's my wild card. She'll start a podcast
if she can. But
I know if she can. I know. That's the question.
Long form speeches, they're kind of Camelot-y, and they're all
I know.
They're all kind of slogans. Like every line is a slogan. There's no real ideas. She's not thinking out loud at all,
Yeah,
because that's just not how the establishment works. You can't do it that way. They just can't do it. Can't think out loud. Thanks everybody. We got to get you out to go get the kids here. Appreciate everybody's participation, your presence here. Apologies for the shorter show. Canary Cry Clubhouse will be going tomorrow. Call-in show, get involved. If you got something to chat about, do it, because really that show is nothing without the calls. But we'll have some fun. Maybe I'll do ostriches tomorrow if it feels right. Thanks everybody who's on the Canary Cry text message alert system. Do it real quick if you haven't done it yet, folks. Text the word canary, just one word, canary, to 877-740-3226. I'll say it again, 877-740-3226. When you do that, you will start receiving text message alerts when we go live. I write them myself. They're not automated. So it just helps you, know the show is going. You don't have to rely on notifications from platforms and things like that. But you can also text us back at that number, which is very fun. And I read them all. Sometimes I'll read them on the show, and I'll do that real quick here. Let's see. 661 says, "Happy Wednesday. Hope this message finds you well. Still watching and chatting on Twitch. Our lone Twitch viewer. God bless you, 661. Thank you for your attention to this matter." Then said, quote, "Verdict with Ted Cruz. In 2022, Security PAC plans to donate to conservative candidates running for Congress and help the Republican Party across the nation." Maybe that was mentioned in Ted Cruz's podcast. I don't quite follow, but I probably agree that that's something important. 40, who's this? 408? 406 is much love, guys. Thank you very much. Get that producer button ready. 973 says, "Keep it up. Blessings to you," from 907. "I'm a trapper in Alaska."
Ooh.
I am a trapper in Alaska. "My trapping partner's wife was just told she has 2 weeks to live because of a brain tumor. Please pray for her. Jane is her name." Listen up, producers. Time to get to work.
Producers, assemble!
That's right. Everybody within the thrall of my voice, you are a producer. It's time to spiritually produce the show through our prayers. Very important, most important, you might say. Pray for the show, pray for Gons and I, pray for the producers. And we're praying for Jane in Alaska, who just got told she has 2 weeks to live because of a brain tumor. Gosh, there's so much going on there. But yeah, God bless that. What a wild series of circumstances. And yes, this is when God does miracles. And so we're praying for you, Jane. We're praying for the family. We're praying for all the trappers in Alaska there. That is one of those sort of existential cosmic moments in life that you cannot help but turn to God in those moments, no matter who you are. And it's an excellent opportunity for God to respond in all sorts of expected and unexpected ways. So, of course, we're praying for healing. We're praying for the skill and deftness of the doctors. We're praying for the family and the friends of Jane, and of course, praying for Jane for strength and comfort for herself and the whole gang over there. So there you go. I hope we get some producers around the world joining with us in that. Amen. And thank you for the text, 973.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I am curious about the trapping. Like, what kind of animals are they trapping up there? Is it just beavers,
seals,
like
maybe,
and fox and stuff?
Moose? I don't know. Yeah, because it's not hunter.
Coyotes.
This is like an old school thing to do. What a life, man. Maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe it's just, I was crying about I should have become a banker last week.
I heard,
Yeah, but maybe trapping's the way to go. Here's the thing. I might be too old to get into finance, but you're never too old to become a trapper. That's what I always say.
Okay.
One more here from 318. Love y'all, Gons and Basil from the Underwoods from Louisiana. Thank you, Underwoods from Louisiana. God bless you guys.
Appreciate you guys.
There you go. Text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. And we're going to jump out the window here in a moment, but I do want to give a shout out to executive producer Felicia D, who came in, produced the show, executive produced the show during the show.
Thank you, Felicia D.
And we had a couple people upgrade their producerships to the supply drop. They're doing good thing. They know what's going on. This is the time. If you've ever thought about doing the supply drop, do it now. Do it before November 30th at 12 o'clock, because there is a deadline. And don't come crying to me if you miss the deadline. Produce the show. Go over to canarycrysupplydrop.com and the sign up there, and this you'll produce the show on a monthly basis, and then every quarter we'll send a package to your house filled with exclusive, sometimes experimental, awesome Canary Cry gear. The Canary Cry calendar, most beloved project ever in the Canarium, is going out in the supply drop, and everyone on the supply drop, unless you're, unfortunately, if you're international, we cannot do it, but American supply droppers, you will be receiving a half gold back, a piece of transactional gold. If you've listened to our interview with Jeremy Corden that just came out, I think the video version just came out today. An excellent conversation. It will come out today.
It will come out. Yeah, there was a little error that happened.
Giving away the secret a little bit then, but tune in to our next couple interviews. You'll learn all about it. It's very cool. But an excellent piece of financial technology to put our money where our mouth is, as far as sound money, constitutional money, and finding our way to play our part in whatever next version of the economic beast system is coming. God's money, gold, that's the way to go. We've talked about it plenty in the past, and y'all already know that. And we're excited to help people take a step in that direction when they support the show at canarycrysupplydrop.com. You will receive your very own half gold back. Very exciting. So big shout out to Jeremy M, who came in, upgraded to the supply drop. He says, you two have sold me. Finally, I had to get in on the supply drop. Sadly, I had to cancel the t-shirt council, but I've upgraded. It's not t-shirts, it's supply drops. Seriously, though, I'd been thinking about doing it for a while, but at almost 46 years of age, sometimes I forget to do some things. Maybe be time to start some ginkgo. Thanks for all the hard work. Glad I could help support you two. God bless you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I have a feeling this applies to a lot of people. You know, they want to get on the supply drop. They think it sounds cool. They're on board, but they just kind of forget to actually go over and do that. Now's the time for anybody who's been wanting to, and you just keep forgetting. I'm telling you, don't miss out on this next supply drop. It'll be very sad. If you've ever thought about it, now is the time to do it. Go to canarycrysupplydrop.com. Also, Monica from the Natural Liberty podcast also upgraded to the supply drop.
Thank you, Monica.
First off, thank you so much for mentioning my show last week on Canary Cry Clubhouse, and again yesterday. That's right. Monica, a longtime producer of the show, longtime Canarian, taking our advice here, starting her own podcast, and it's awesome. It's called the Natural Liberty Podcast. Go check it out. I was listening on the potty while working today and was so touched by Susan's text and your kind words. I screen recorded it and sent it to my mom. There you go. Thank you. God bless. She sent a longer note, of which I will not read the whole thing, but she does end with, I want that calendar and the half gold back, baby. Hopefully this will be sustainable for me financially, because I really do value you and Gons and all the work you put into the show every week. I pray for each of you and your families, and I want to remind you that God's timing is perfect. He will bless you guys more abundantly than you can imagine in his timing. His blessings are kind of like Gandalf. A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins. He arrives precisely when he means to. So thank you very much. She also sent 1 Peter 5:5-7. God bless.
Awesome. Thank you.
Last but not least, we got Cage Rattler Coffee. Go to cagerattlercoffee.com. Don't miss out. Cagerattlercoffee.com just added their subscription Coffee of the Month club. So if you've been wanting to get in on a subscription over there, now's your time. And if you haven't gone to cagerattlercoffee.com, go there now. This is coffee by producers for producers.
Cage Rattler Coffee. Where value for value never tasted so good.
That's right. You go over there, you get the coffee. You're spending the money on coffee anyways. You might as well support the Canarium and the Canary Cry families who are making it happen. Just the streakers here coming in. Mrs. Tinfoil Hatman is on a 184 episode streak. Veronica D is on a 523 episode streak. Sir Scott is on a 570 episode streak. And Sttacey the Shield Knight is on a 576 episode streak. Thank you. These people came in under $7.77.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. And other than that, if you're an artist, a musician, you want to help out the show, value for value with your talent, make some art, make some music, some jingles, go to canarycry.art, upload it there. Apologies, Marty B. We ran out of time today, but I promise we're going to play your track next opportunity we get, which hopefully is Monday.
I know. I think Monday we'll be able to. Yeah.
Go to canarycry.art. You can upload your art there. We will thank you on the show, play it on the show. Of course, thank you to those producers who help us out with their time, like the time stampers.
Timestamp.
Timestamp. It's hard work. Timestamp.
We can we are thanking Jade Bouncerson for yes, Jade Bouncerson. Thank you for doing the timestamps.
Very important stuff. Very faithful. Beloved Canary and Jade Bouncerson. Thank you very much.
Yep,
thank you to Jam, who heads up the Telegram. Thank you to Adam42 for heading up the Discord. If you want to get in on the Telegram or the Discord, go to canarycry.party. You can find the invite links there. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for clanking. And thank you, Sir Ike, for everything you do for us. And other than that, share the show, folks. Share the show. It's very important things going on here that help inoculate us against the wiles of the devil and the distractions of those who consider us their enemies. So share the show. We call it Rattling Cages. All you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages.
Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy.
Leave the bird alone.
Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Any last words, Guns?
Let's see. Oh, my wedding anniversary is coming up on Saturday. So please pray for our, 17 years of marriage.
Wow.
Crazy.
Happy anniversary.
And then on Sunday, it'll be 33 days till Christmas.
Oh, look at that.
Tell all your church friends. 33 days to Christmas. Yep.
There you go, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Feed him more.
They love killing. They love killing.
Toilets! 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 Ah!
I love the Great Reset.
It will kill.
Toilets!
I'll keep you warm and safe, and my people too.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
Toilets!
This is the way.
We're all gonna die.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths!
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Bye!
take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, not surprised.